Alright, I wanted to do a quick video on knife maintenance. What happened is I had this knife, AEBL, and you've seen this knife. I've got two of them, but you've seen these knives a lot on my channel. It's the long knife from Nature Reliance, made by LT Wright. And it's AEBL still, and I sharpened this knife up to where it was scary sharp. I mean, it was as sharp as any knife I had in the whole collection of knives I've got, even ones that hadn't been used. I mean, I sharpened it to where it was as sharp as you could get. And I had it at the kitchen, and I had some company over and stuff, and I just let everybody use this knife for everything for the most of a week, about 5 days, and they were cutting bread and meat and any kind of fruit they wanted to on a cutting board and stuff, and who knows, maybe even on other kind of counter and all that. And it got a little bit dull, but it held up good. As far as the edge, there was just a little bit of a edge problems. I don't want to say problems, but issues right here. I can see the edge in a couple of spots right here where somebody's most likely cut through something and slammed into countertop or some hard thing like that, or they've raked it across the cutting board or something, with that fine edge like that. So I needed to do some work on that knife, and I thought, well, I'll make a video just to show how I take care of my knives, because I do take care of my knives real good. And you've seen my knives on this channel, and I've used all of them, and they don't look bad, I don't think. So I want to show you the whole gamut of what I do for different kind of knives. Now I'll show right off here, this is an old case, and it's, according to what I can see, it's the CV knife, even though there's not much on that blade right there. It's not black, but that blade right there is completely rusted. Somebody brought this to me and said, could I fix it for them? I have not even done anything to it. I just got it. I hadn't tried to fix it. I might make a video of trying to restore that knife a little bit. It's dull as all get out, dirty. This blade right here is just rusted all to pieces there on that side, and so I don't know how much I can do with it, but I think I can fix it up better. I can at least get it cleaned up and get it real sharp and stuff. But that's what you don't want to happen. That knife right there, from what I gather from the person, was just laying around in the back of a place or something, or they found it, something like that. It was laying and they just found it. I think it's laying and on that side, and that's why that's rusty, and the person just found it, and they was like, well, hey, can you fix that up? And I think I can, but that's out of the picture for now. That's not my knife, and I never let mine get to that point. So I got different knives here to show, different styles and stuff. So I've got several of them CV knives that's cased, the chrome vanadium, and I treat them the same way I do this knife in general. This knife here is the German Super King cutting steel from back in the 80s. That won't rust whatsoever, won't take a patina or anything at all. And this is my trusty old Puma from years ago. And I can show you how I've took care of it all these years. For one thing, nothing ever happens to that knife. It's impervious to anything. So there's no problem about keeping the blades good and everything. Like a case CV knife will turn black. I just let them turn black. That real dark patina on that steel is just how it looks. I don't even try to keep a case CV knife silver, because it's just going to turn black, and that's the way they are. But this was a stainless knife, and what I used over the years was these sticks here. It's ceramic sticks. Now I've got wet rocks and different things, but I've always just pretty much used this and to sharpen. And I just hold it right there, and I just hit it however many times. Try to keep it even on both sides while I'm talking. I about lose count, but Now I'm just doing it fast. You can do it slower and get a finer edge on there. That puts a real good edge on it. It's already got a good sharp edge on that, and I never let my knives get too dull anyway. But if it does, this will bring it back pretty quick. And that's about all I use for this knife. I don't have to keep it too clean or anything, but I'll wash it off when I use it on something. And it's got 3 blades, so I'll save this blade for cutting up apples, or I've skinned stuff. I even cut up a mule deer with this blade one time. I found myself needing to do it, but it's got different blades, and I'm opening boxes and stuff. I just use these other blades, but I don't know. I've never cut paper too much with that one, but yeah, I could put a better edge on it, but I'm just showing for this video how I do. So for this knife, all I ever do, keep it clean. I'll oil the hinges a little bit sometimes, and just sharpen it up when I need to. Usually on them, I got a bigger ceramic stick here, but these, the thing about this is it's got the angle, so you just go straight down. Say I'm going to sharpen that blade, I can just go straight down and sharpen, just straight down like that, and it's got the angle built into these, and so that makes it easy. And the other thing, on a small blade like this, it's got that little bit of an area, but I can get back, don't know how you can see there, but I can get back in there pretty good, because this is a small diameter right there to get back in there pretty good. With this big one on this little knife, it's harder to get right back in that last. I can do it. There again, I have to hold the angle my own self, but it works fine too. It's the same thing. It's a ceramic rod. So now I got this knife here, and I told you about it, that I'd had it really sharp and then I'd left it for people to use. That's what it's for. I'm not griping that they used it. I wanted them to, and that's what it's for. Then it comes time to put an edge back on it real good. Like I said before, I don't really let the edge get off of mine. Normally what I do, even with this knife, now I told you what I did with that one, I just go straight to the ceramic. But most of my fixed blade knives, I don't just go straight to the ceramic. I got this leather strop here, and I got 2 kinds of compound that goes on it. I use Bark River compound. That's because that's just what I've got right now, and I've had it, and it just don't wear out too quick. There's other people that make compound. See, I need a little bit of the green on this side. The green is a finer grain. This compound goes on there kind of like a crayon or something, and you just load the strop with it. This has got a finer grit in it than the black, so I start on the black side and then finish on the green side, and that's as fine as I go. Some people have a white compound that's even better if you want to put a fine edge on it. What I mean by better is, guess that's not the right word. I mean, it's finer grained, the grit. So some people do that, and some people go all the way to just leather, just to touch it up. But all you do is just put your compound on there like that. And I just do that just once in a great while when it gets kind of wore down where it's just leather and there's nothing in there. So normally the way I would do, now I'll go ahead and show, I'm going to show this knife better. It's a convex edge knife, and all I ever do is strop it. But normally I will just strop. I start out at the end right there, and again you do the same thing to both sides. I'm not really stropping hard, but I'd start on the black side, and I just start all the way at the end, try to keep whatever the angle is, the belly and everything. Depending on how thick the knife is, what angle you need, you do that by experimenting. But you try to do the same number. This don't really take metal off of there like the ceramic and stuff does, not so much anyway. I wouldn't say there's no metal gets off here, but this mostly just lines it up, the carbides, from what I've been told. Now, I'm no expert, but you see these convex edge knives, I always strop them, keep the convex on there. I don't want to put them on a ceramic because they don't have that flat edge. I would just strop that like that, and some people will do it from that end and do it like that. But on my regular knives, I usually just do that way. Now, I don't put no great amount of pressure on there, but you can hear it going over the leather. Then this knife here is even a good bit duller than the other one. It really needs some work. But then I finish up on the green side just to polish it off a little bit. So we'll try that. Got my paper here, let's see. There's no edge problem. It could be a little sharper, but that's pretty good. I mean, not too bad. It needs some work. It's still not as sharp as I would ever have it, but I use this knife a lot. It's one of my favorite knives, and so that's how I do that. Now, let me go on to say here, while I'm on that knife, I just take wet dry sandpaper. If I have this is 1500 grit, I've had 3000 grit, 2000. This is 1500. It's a little more aggressive, but I'll just take wet dry sandpaper if I need to, and just put it over the strop where it can bend. I'm not going to strop this knife because it don't need it. But if I'm getting the edge rolling and stuff on my knife and I need to fix that, it won't strop out. I strop and strop it, and I got problems on the edge. I'll just take wet dry sandpaper or some equivalent, and then it can do that bit of flexing it needs to keep the convex edge because it's against that leather. And I'll just hold that there on the leather, and I'll just drop it and get the edge problems out. Now I've got a Waterstone. I don't use it, but some people do Waterstones, especially if they're going to reprofile a convex edge or something, and just the motion of their hands. I don't really use that Waterstone. I just use the stuff I showed you right there. So then we come back to this knife here. And like I said, this part down through here is not bad, but there's a little bit of issues out on the edge where I can see the edge and stuff. I don't know if I can get that on video, but it's hard to get that on video. But I can see the edge, especially in the sun, but you can't see it on here. So what I do in that case, this is not a convex edge, even though I probably put a little bit of a micro on it. I'll do it on this. I'll just hit it on this big ceramic. And again, I do everything the same way. And when I'm doing on ceramic, of course, I'm cutting against it. That's just always the way I've done it. Just like I'm trying to slice a piece of the ceramic off there. And that'll really put an edge. Right now it's still a little dull. I haven't done nothing to this knife, like I said, and I still see a little bit. I might just need to hit the very end of it a little bit. That's how I do on these that's not convex. Oh yeah, that's sharp out there on the end now. Yeah, it's really sharp. And I've lined that back up, touched it up, and fixed it. Then what I do to get a real good edge on this, or when I don't have any edge problems, I use the strop on this even though it's not convex. And the way I do it on this one is I hold the knife still and I get my angle right on there, and then I strop with the strop like that. And then I turn it over this way and I drag it that way on that side. I'm probably putting a little bit of a convex on there, if truth be known, at a micro level. That don't bother me at all because I like convex edges pretty well. Just try to keep your angle where it needs to be. Oh yeah, that's very sharp. Wipe it down a little bit. And I labeled the sides of my strop, as you've seen there, just so I know which side it's always. And I'll touch it up a little bit with the green. Not much pressure at all. This is what I usually do to the knife when I've just cut with it some and I haven't left it for other people to cut with for 5 days, and just round the edge into anything or whatever. But it takes it, it's fine. It's not hurting anything for people to. Oh yeah, that's very sharp now. See if it'll cut a paper. Oh yeah. Yeah, that one's the sharpest one of the ones I just sharpened. But now I'll go on, since this is a knife maintenance video. I'll tell different other aspects besides sharpening. That's pretty much my sharpening system right there in a nutshell, just depending on the type of edge. If it's convex, strop only, sandpaper if I need to touch the edge up. That's what I've done so far. Like I said, I do have Waterstone and stuff if I ever needed to do any heavy sharpening, but so far I hadn't let my convex knives get to that level. As far as the handles, I've got some really nice wooden handles. So far I haven't done anything to maintain them other than just keep them clean and dry. I just don't let them get real wet and stay wet for a long time. I just keep them clean and dry. That's about all I do for them. Now this knife here's 3V. 3V will take a patina if you just leave it dirty. At least that's what everybody says, but I never have really had much trouble with 3V with what I do for it. I don't leave my knives dirty for no long time. I mean, I might leave them dirty for 45 minutes while I'm eating or something if I cut something. And usually I don't even do that. Mostly I wash my knives off right after I cut something that would do any patina to them. So I don't really have to do much of anything to them as far as blade is concerned on like a 3V knife, and I told you on this one I don't, and on this ABL I don't do anything. I just wash them down when I'm done using them, dry them off, stick them back in the sheath. My sheaths are pretty much all leather. I don't do much for them either. If one of them was to dry out real bad, you can get Obenauf's. You can get stuff like that, Obenauf's. It's leather treatment stuff or anything like that, and just put a little bit on. But I wouldn't put a whole lot on because you don't want to make your leather really soft. I don't. I like my sheaths a little bit stiff, my knife sheaths. So as far as oil on a knife, you can see this knife here. That's one of them Bark Rivers that got a patina on it, and it's still got it on there. I actually flitz this knife down with flitz. Now I've cut some stuff with it, and it's getting a patina back on it. I don't know how good you can see that, but I don't try to do anything about it. I just flitzed that to see if I could take the top layer off, and if it was because it had contamination was what was making it tarnish. But with my 3V knives, I don't have that problem. But what I was going to say, if somebody really wants their knife to stay silver, they don't want it to take a patina, like you got an A2 knife or 1085 or some kind of knife that's going to tarnish pretty bad, and you don't want that to happen. Mineral oil is the thing I always been told to use, and I've had mineral oil. I don't have any with me right now because I never use it. I don't bother with that. If my knife's going to take a patina, I just let it take a patina for the most part. But I have had mineral oil and put on, and you get that mineral oil in the section of a store that's like the medical section of any store. It's the mineral oil like people actually take by the spoonful and everything. And so that's good because you put the mineral on there, mineral oil on there, you're not contaminating any kind of food, because that's a grade of mineral oil that can be eaten, can be taken internally. So this here for the hinges, you could use mineral oil for the hinges too. Over the years I've used actually gun oil or anything. It's just not good to get it up on the blade if you're going to cut apples or whatever with it. But any kind of oil in the hinges right there, but mineral oil works okay for that. So that's what I do. Like I said, I don't do much maintenance other than that. Now one thing that I'm getting into here, and I'll show you on these knives, is these micarta handles. Now you can see I've had the old staghorn handle that you don't have to do anything to, nothing hurts it. I've got a bunch of nice wood handles, and like I said, I keep them clean and dry. I've never had micarta handles. I'm just getting into that in the past year or so, maybe 8 months. This one here I hadn't used all that much. I mean, I think I cut a dressed 2 or 3 deer or something with, something like that maybe, but I hadn't used it a whole lot. But this knife here, I hadn't done any wildlife on, any kind of hunting or anything with it or nothing like that, but it's been used a whole lot in the kitchen and just around the house. This is a knife I just seem to be grabbing all the time, even though it's huge by some people's standard. It's got a long blade on it there, you can see. over 6 3/4 inches. I mean, it's pushing. It's not quite 7 inches, but it's a good sized blade on the knife. It's thin, and I've showed that before. It's really nimble in the hand, and I just find myself grabbing this knife for almost anything just around the kitchen or the house. So this knife gets a lot of use, and my other one too. And then I have that large Northern Hunter that's got this same handle in it, on it. Black micarta from LT Wright. Now, you can see there how this is not very dark black. It is a matte finish, and this one here was supposed to be just a smooth finish, so it's a little different, and of course it's different companies at the Park River, but this one's a little smoother, but it's still the same way. It's not staying dark black. But this one's getting a lot of kind of whitish looking color on it. And so I'm wondering, I'm new to this, and so anybody in the comments, if you can help me out, okay, I haven't tried anything, but is there some kind of maintenance that you all do when you got a micarta handle? Do you need to put any kind of oil on it, or what do you do for any kind of maintenance? There's no wear and tear on it. I mean, the handle's as good as the day I got it. It don't seem like it's going to have anything happen to it. It's impervious. But the color didn't stay as dark as when I got it. So I'm just asking, if you want to put in the comments or whatever, if you do something to the handle to keep it dark black. So anyway, that's the way I maintain my knives, and it works pretty good for me. With these ceramic sticks, I've been doing that for years, for decades, and that's all I've ever needed to do to this knife. Good many years I've been stropping these convex edges, and it's working fine. Everything I'm doing is working fine. Just would like to know about micarta handles, if people do anything to them. Anyway, I hope you have a good day, and I hope that helps somebody.